I have seen Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer in 70mm IMAX, and here are my thoughts on the movie. I have to start off by saying that this scene here is one of the greatest scenes that Christopher Nolan has ever directed. Whether you are fully invested for the full 3 hours or you are bored with this movie, make no mistake that this scene here will make you rise from your seat and be totally engaged. It is eerie, intense, and alarming to all the senses. It feels like a straight up horror movie at this point. The buildup of pressure on Oppenheimer's emotional internal conflict was perfectly executed, and I strongly believe that Nolan should venture off into the horror genre, my favorite genre. The acting, the directing, the sound mixing, the applause for life and death. I can't get it all out of my head. This was brilliant. Christopher Nolan has cemented himself as one of the most important filmmakers who has ever lived, especially with the way that he presents film to the world. He tells the story of Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, in the only way that he can, with nonlinear storytelling and mind-blowing visuals. The weight of the emotional and narrative power of the movie is carried on the shoulders by actors Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr., who, I guarantee you, are Oscar locks for acting nominations. They are genius. You truly believe they lived as these people. Although it's not my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, because honestly I was more on the side that this movie was kind of boring, which I hate to say. That's just how I felt. It felt like 85% political court drama, which, there's so much exposition. It was kind of hard to follow. 10% bomb, which I actually thought was the most fascinating aspect of the story, the creation of the bomb, the race against the Nazis, race against time, that sense of urgency, the entertaining factor of the movie, and 5% nudity. It really, I don't know, it felt kind of incoherent. So although it's not my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, I do think it is one of his most important, as it encourages us to build a strong moral conviction against the weaponization of nuclear power, weapons, and political polarization, because if we don't act fast, it could lead and cause a chain reaction to the total annihilation of not just our species, but the world. The nature of power and its consequences in the wrong hands is nightmarish. And I found it interesting how Christopher Nolan represented a different form of dangerous power through the courtroom political drama. The kind of power that is sought and attained by corrupted individuals who hide in the shadows away from the light, ready to get blood on their hands. I honestly don't think this movie needed to be 3 hours long. I definitely felt the runtime on this, which was kind of unusual and unexpected from a diehard Nolan fan. He is usually an expert at pacing, at emphasizing the race against time to create suspense. But for some reason, this movie here, since it was focusing on like three different things, three different perspectives from Oppenheimer's life, the court hearings, his personal relationships, which I didn't really care about at all, to be honest. I wasn't emotionally connected to those stories at all. And a little emphasis on the creation of the bomb. I just felt like we were jumping from different tangents, and it kind of felt incoherent as a whole, honestly. Florence Pugh, a remarkable actress, didn't really get to do much in this movie. The nudity in these scenes didn't really add anything to the story, and they kind of felt, oddly placed in the movie. There was even one scene where our audience was kind of laughing because it just seemed so out of place and wild. I don't know, it just didn't add anything. Since this movie does deal with different political parties, beliefs, different dogmas, my favorite parts were when we got to see who Oppenheimer was as a person and his beliefs, what he stood for. Those moments when he was like, I have blood on my hands. And you could see the trauma that was affecting his mind after the success of the atomic bomb. That's when it was working for me. But it was very minimal. Can human beings be trusted with a super weapon? A weapon with levels of mass destruction, the power to destroy ourselves? Christopher Nolan reminds us of the important truth for 3 hours. Probably not.